Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? Okay, he's a whistleblower, he is as well today.
Yeah.
Because I borrowed some papers.
No.
I borrowed some papers from the fashion department earlier on this morning.
Grassed him up.
And he grassed me up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Took a picture of my apology saying, I've got your papers,
Come
I'll
on.
give them back in a bit. And then he posted it. Whistleblower.
Serves you right.
I don't like his attitude.
Don't like yours.
We'll catch up with you later, guys. Keep all your comments into the hub this morning and we'll work our way through them a little bit later. Also on the show today, the terrifying story of the young girl scarred for life after her attacker threw acid in her face as she walked home from work.
So, here's today's lineup.
In just over an hour, the long-awaited report into why health services managers and regulators fail to spot horrendous failures of care at Stafford Hospital will be published.
Now, the report, which has taken evidence from families of victims who've suffered terribly at the hands of the hospital, and the Mid Staffordshire Trust, will be used to make recommendations to the Secretary of State in the hope that serious lessons will be learned.
Well, two people who've campaigned tirelessly for the public inquiry to take place are Christine Dale, who sadly lost her husband George in August 2007, and Jim Duff, whose wife Doreen died in September 2008. And welcome, both of you. Thank you for coming in today. Christine, your husband George was first treated at the hospital in 1999. You believe that was the start of a catalogue of errors that led to his death. So he had polyps in his colon.
Yes.
So he had quite a lot of colonoscopies.
Yes.
And so you said that he went between 1999 and then 2002. Where do you think it began to go wrong?
Well, what happened was he was actually classed as high risk. But after the last time we went to see his consultant, he decided to leave it for 3 years. And we said, 3 years? And he says, yes, he'll be all right. Well, by this time, I kept phoning up the hospital and asking them, was his appointment due? They kept saying, no, it wasn't due. They said that they'll get in touch with us. I kept phoning and phoning, and they still said no. And then all of a sudden, his medication come through for him to go for a colonoscopy again. And when he went in to have that done, it was the nurse that brought him out of the theatre that actually turned round and said, oh, by the way, George, she says, you got lost in the system, didn't you? It's 5 years and 1 month.
5 years and 1 month?
Yes.
Between checks?
That's right. So by that time, he developed 17 polyps, and they couldn't remove them because 2 of the polyps, the first one was so large they couldn't move it and it had turned cancerous. The second one was on the turn, so they said that he'd got to have... it was
the nature in which you were told that he had cancer as well? Because initially you thought, OK, well, we've been in, no one said there was anything wrong.
That's right.
And then it was just called out.
Yes, what happened there was we went to see the consultant for the follow-up appointment, and he just looked at his notes and he said, oh, yes, he says, you are high risk for polyps, aren't you? He said, in that case, I'll see you in 2008. And we sort of looked at each other and thought, oh, thank God for that. With him being delayed, we thought they'd say he had got something serious. And anyway, we just went outside. We'd opened the door to go out. It was full of patients outside, and he banged on his desk. And he says, oh, that puts a different light on things. You've got cancer. So, of course, we both just stood there in shock.
Yes.
You know, we didn't know.
No, of course.
Didn't know how to take it at all at that time.
It would be... anyone can make a mistake. They're big hospitals, they have a lot of people coming through, and so a lot of people would say, well, it's a terrible mistake to happen. But then when he went in for his treatment, it continued to go wrong. It did. And you say that his care was terrible.
It was awful, yes. He had the operation on the Wednesday morning, and I went to see him on the afternoon, and I asked him if he was all right, if his pain was all right. And he said, oh yes, I'm all right. And I said, are you sure? And he said, well, I have told the nurses that I'm in a lot of pain, but they've just turned round and said, you can't be, you're right, you
Had an epidural.
had an epidural.
Yeah.
They wouldn't accept that he was in pain at all. And anyway, I went down to see the nurses and I said, look, he's not one for complaining. I said, he must be in pain. And there was 2 young nurses came up giggling and laughing at the bottom of his bed and said, oh, you're the one in pain, are you? And they put some liquid paracetamol in his drip. They came back about 20 minutes later and they turned around and said, oh, you better now? And he said, no, he said, it hasn't done anything. Well, for 3 days he went without any medication at all. He'd had his large bowel removed and they'd found that they'd actually sited the epidural in the wrong place. His legs were swollen, his feet were swollen. He was in a terrible mess.
You say that it extended to the care, there was no compassion, lack of food?
Yes, they never fed him solids anyway to begin with because of him having the large bowel removed. But he had no vitamins or anything like that.
He had bed sores, you say?
Yes, yes. On his bottom and on his heels.
Well, on the 31st of July in 2007, you went to see him and you said that he'd normally got very bright blue eyes.
He
And you
had,
said
yes, beautiful blue
you
eyes.
saw that there was a dullness in his eyes.
Yes, yes.
And then at 4:15 the next morning, you got the call.
Yes.
And this is, I'm sorry to discuss
all
this
right.
because this is so terribly painful. But when you walked in, that his body hadn't even been prepared for you to come in and see him.
No, no. What happened was when we went in, there was nurses behind the nurses' station. Nobody acknowledged us. We were there at 4:45 in the morning. There was a doctor there with a stethoscope on. She didn't even speak to me. It was one of the care workers actually that came up and put her arms around me and said, I'm so sorry. I asked her what time my husband died and she said, I don't know. Nobody knew what time he died. They put it on his certificate as being 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd been there since 4:45. When eventually I went up to see him, he'd got a tube sticking out of his mouth. His eyes were wide open and he was cold, so I know that he'd been dead for quite a long time.
You say you decided to take action here, not for the money, but you wanted an admission.
Yes, yes.
An apology.
Yes. I
And a
did.
similar thing for Jim as well, with Doreen.
Yeah.
Doreen had a stroke in 2005. She'd been poorly before, but you'd visited the hospital a number of times with her. And you say, in your words, there were endless scenes of absolute chaos, and you witnessed general incompetence and craziness from the doctors and the nurses alike.
That's
What
correct.
did you see?
Well, when you walked onto the ward, you could smell the ward. When you tried to speak to a nurse, they'd walk past you with no eye contact. If you asked a doctor if you could find one, how Doreen was progressing or what, they wouldn't have any idea. You couldn't get any answers to anything. Medication was left off, so Doreen having a stroke in 2005, it was crucial that she had her medication. She had a good quality of life, even though she's lost the left side of her body. But when you take her into STAP, she caught C. diff. I wasn't told about it. I had to tell them she got it. The last time she went in, the last 4 weeks she went in, she had another stroke the day she was supposed to be discharged. She had another one then, so then she came out paralysed from the neck down, unable to speak. They'd been missing, they took medication off her that they should have given her. Medication was missed because there was none in the pharmacy and none on the ward. She was left in a chair till she fell off it one morning. She'd been there since she got up in the morning. And it was just chaos. Every day was chaos. There was no water for them to drink. You'd have to go in and try and find water. Tablets would be left on the side. Buzzers out of reach. And if you tried to find anything out, nobody would speak to you. He couldn't get any contact with anybody.
You also said as well that you found her lying in a wet bed for hours.
Wet bed, yes.
And that one time you visited, she was actually on the floor.
She was, yes. And I asked her, I eventually found a nurse and asked her to find a hoist for me so we could pick Doreen up and put her on the bed.
Yeah.
When she came into the ward, she said, "What have you done to me?" I said, "No, I walked in. She was there when I walked in." I said, "I need a hoist to get her up." So she went off. 20 minutes later, I go looking for her. She's at the nurse's desk talking with the hoist.
So it must be distressing to think how Doreen suffered as well, especially towards the end, because after her stroke she was eventually readmitted, wasn't she?
That's right.
And then she soon after had a cardiac arrest.
That's right.
And spent several days in a coma.
She did 2 days in a coma, and then she had a cardiac arrest on the 12th of September and died on the 14th. I took her into A&E in Stafford on the 10th with a chest infection. The doctor couldn't speak English. He couldn't understand what I was trying to tell him. He asked me if there was any movement in the legs or whatever, and I said no, she's paralysed. He sent her home with the wrong medication. And after she died and I had the case notes come through, the notes for that A&E visit had gone, they disappeared, and that wasn't unusual.
Well, you say that you've worked together tirelessly. It's taken a long time to get to where we're going to be at about midday today when this report is finally announced and the results of it. But interestingly, before we came on air this morning, you were saying that, that there are some people in the wider community who feel that you should all have kept quiet because you brought the hospital into disrepute.
That's right, yes. Julie has had a lot of reports, letters, emails threatening her, you know, and to look over her shoulder. There was once I was in the town and a man came up to me and he put his nose up to mine and he said, "You are disgusting, you are," and he spat.
But you're not doing this not taking legal action in order to gain money out of it. You want them to kind of admit responsibility for what your partners had to endure, didn't you? And this is why you've got your Cure the NHS campaign.
That's right.
And so what do you want to achieve for that today?
Well, we'll put it this way, that Cure the NHS will never go away. We'll carry on and we'll make sure that things improve. We want it to improve for other people, for patients. We don't want families to suffer and end up with a life sentence like we've ended up with.
Well, I've got a list of the things that you're trying to organise here: the rebuilding of the culture of safety and care, implementing 2 essential systems, safety management, quality management, establishing a single regulatory body, the Stop and Make Safe campaign, assuring patients and communities. I mean, it's a long list of things that you want to achieve.
We want accountability as well.
Yes.
Not one person has been held to account over this. Not one person has lost a job. David Nicholson, who was in charge of the Strategic Health Authority at the time and knew what was happening at Stafford, was promoted to Chief Executive of the NHS. We want his resignation. We want the resignation of Peter Carter.
Well, the statement from Lynn Hiltout, who's the Chief Executive at Mid Staffordshire NHS Foundation Trust, says, "We have every sympathy with the families of Mr DL and Mrs Duff. We'd like to repeat our sincere apologies to them. There were systemic problems at Stafford Hospital at the time, which meant that the care provided to these patients and others in some areas of the hospital was inadequate. Such a poor standard of care is inexcusable and indefensible. Today, Stafford is a very different place. We don't say that we are perfect, but our staff continue to do their best to put right the things that were wrong. They've done so despite constant scrutiny. External regulators have verified and acknowledged the improvements that have been made, although there is always more that should and could be done." We have a last word here. Yes.
These regulators are light touch regulators. Stafford Hospital had a cancer peer review, breast cancer peer review, at the end of last year. They assessed themselves at 29 out of 31. When the review team went in, they gave them 3. That is the problem with these hospitals. they think, or they'll spin.
Yeah.
that
Jim,
they
I
are
have to be
good.
careful here because, of course, we don't have a right to reply over those accusations that you're making, and I think it's probably best if we don't steer
Right.
too far away from it because I don't know whether we can verify all of that. What I will say is that you must be very relieved that at midday today you'll finally get some answers.
Yes.
And we think that that the Secretary of State for Health is going to make him do whatever Robert Francis says that they need to be done with the NHS. We think he will push it through. But if he doesn't, we'll be camped outside Richmond House.
And a one-word answer, this is very difficult, but I will ask you this. Do you think this is confined to one hospital, or do you think this is something that happens throughout the
Countrywide.
NHS? You think it's countrywide?
Yes.
There are
Yes.
pockets of Stafford all over the country. There are lots of great things done by the NHS. There's great people work in it. The good people work up at Stafford, but they're overwhelmed by the system. It needs turning the other way up. Frontline staff, let them run it. Let them go on and let the patient be. It's for the patient, it's got to be the first one.
We have to stop it there, but thank you both very much
Thank
indeed
you.
for,
Okay.
for coming in
Thank
today.
you.
And I will sort of say that there are
Excuse me.
hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of dedicated NHS staff up and down the country who will be just as appalled as you are at the way this is
Well,
all
we
turned
want
out.
zero harm
Yeah.
and we want accountability.
Well, look, if you have been affected by anything we've just discussed, please go to our website, itv.com/this morning for details of help and support.
And we're back after the break with some consumer news. See you in a moment. Welcome back. Still to come, Terence Stamp and Gemma Arterton on their new film Song for Marion, which I watched last night. Made me cry. Yeah.
It broke you.
Yeah, it did. and also we got some romantic weekends for two, guaranteed to keep your Valentine entertained.
But first, we're talking different sizes in different stores. Have you ever found that you fit, say, a size 10 in one store, then you're a 12 in another, 14 in another? It can be really frustrating. I'd like to go to the one where I'm always the 10, though. You always kind of go to that shop. Anyway, Alice Beer is here to talk us through it.
Philip's not
there
sharing
isn't
our grief here,
there
are
are no
you?
one, but I do understand it. I
Good.
do understand
Okay.
it. But there isn't a set standard.
Well, interestingly, there actually is a set standard, but there's no legal obligation for anyone to take it up. British Standards came up with sort of sizing standard in 1982, but nobody was interested. The retailers weren't interested. Now there's a European standard that came out, but nobody's interested.
When you've been out onto the high street to
I've been
check them out.
stomping the high street in the name of research. I didn't even shop.
What?
We all think we know what size we are, but why is it that a size 10 in one shop is a 12 in another, and heaven forbid, a size 14 somewhere else? Why can't they all just agree?
To help me illustrate these sizing shenanigans, I've enlisted the services of size 12 model Laura, who knows all too well the frustration of inconsistent high street sizing.
I think we've got plenty of sizes for you to try. It's time for a fitting room frenzy. You ready? Okay, so size 12, M&S. What do you feel?
Feels a bit too gapey here.
Yeah, and too much material here.
Yeah.
Wrong. Too big, yes?
Yeah.
10. Size 10.
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better. Yes? So that's
Perfect.
the size that you would buy.
Definitely.
Okay. What shop, what size?
Top shop size 12.
And that fits. Topshop, she is a size 12. Next.
Yeah, Alice, I've got the M&S size 12, but they're a bit...
Oh, huge. You wouldn't buy them, would you?
No, too
No.
big.
Okay, try the next size now.
Yeah, I've got the 10 on now.
And that's the size you'd buy.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, perfect. You are a 10 in M&S. These are 12s?
Yeah.
Oh my, in H&M, yes? Even you have got a muffin top in 12s. That's
I wouldn't buy
extraordinary.
the 12.
No, they're too tight, aren't they? Okay, get them off. Try the 14. Come on, Mrs. Size 14. Oh, they fit. Have you ever been a 14 before in your life?
No.
Oh, it's depressing, isn't it? If she's a 14, then help the rest of us.
I've got a Dorothy Perkins size 12.
Oh, that's like a tent. Try the 10. I'm expecting a Dorothy Perkins 10.
Yes.
Ta-da! Perfect fit.
Yeah.
How can you be a perfect 10 if you're a perfect 12?
Zara.
Nice frock, but it's huge. And
Really
it's, what is this, a 12?
12, yeah.
Okay, well, you're definitely a 10 in that one, aren't you? Well, frankly, Laura, I'm exhausted and a little confused. You've been a 10, a 12, a 14. Why do they not all agree? And you know what the really bad news is? We've got to queue up at customer services to get refunds and all this stuff.
Surprising that it's so wide.
Yes, and we all know it happens, and thus the point of the fitting room. But I suppose the larger implication is now that we buy so much online. And what's interesting is I was trying to do some research for this piece, and I was trying to print off all the sizing charts from the different companies online. And you can't get a sizing chart until you actually click on an item to buy. So you have to go quite a long way through the system to make that comparison. And in some stores, big high street names, online, there's 4 inches of difference.
But do they give you the measurements in the sizing charts?
Yes,
as well?
they do. But do you know your measurements?
No. I haven't got a clue.
I know.
So what do you do then in that case? Does it matter? I mean, that's, as you said, that's why there's a fitting room. You go in there. If you're a 14 in one and it upsets you, don't go there. Go to where you're a 10.
It's not life or death, and we get to know the shops and we get to know what size we are. But it is frustrating online, and you need to know your rights online. You have a 7-day cooling off period. So even if it is just the wrong size and you don't want to change it for another size because your party's tonight, so you're going to run out and get something else, you are entitled to send that back and get a full refund and a refund on your postage coming towards you. You sometimes have to pay to send it back again. So you must know your rights, because there is a bigger implication when you're buying online. But I'm afraid my advice has to be, take your measurements in centimetres, in a quiet bathroom with nobody looking, write them all down and stick them on your computer. And then you absolutely can tell what size you're going to be. It's a shocking experience, and I did it the other day.
So there's someone who's going to buy you something, they walk past your computer and you've got your measurements up there.
Because every year Paul calls me from a shopping centre somewhere and says, what size are you again? Can you text me your sizes? And actually, what he needs to know are my centimetres, because it depends where he is.
Well, the high street stores are aware of the sizing differences between them, aren't they? So
yes.
They know that this happens.
Yes, and I think there's the American phrase is vanity sizing. So they will flatter you. Some of the shops, and I think largely for older women, will flatter you by coming down a size slightly, by making you a 12.
That's part of their ploy then, really.
Yes, yeah, I do.
Well, we wouldn't suggest for a moment that they set out to deliberately deceive consumers.
No, of course not.
But that's like walking into a supermarket and, they're allegedly pumping nice smells in there to make you want to buy something.
Yes, it's all part of the shop, and they are providing what they think your perception is of your size. They want to provide that to you.
Whilst you're here, I just want to ask you a quick question, because we had a couple who said that they had problems with the Trading Standards Authority, and we constantly say go to your Trading Standards Authority.
Absolutely.
But when they have done, they've had problems.
Yes, what you need to do is, this was a particular mail order problem, go online, find the other people who've got the same problem as you, and then call the Trading Standards in the area where the company you have the issue with are based. Don't call your local Trading Standards, call the company's local Trading Standards.
How do you do that if it's online? How do you know where they're based?
You can always see. They have to have on their website, they have to have a home address for the company, and you call that borough's Trading Standards, that is the home authority for that company, and they will collate any complaints.
Okay, all right,
that's the secret.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, let's check up on the hub. Let's see what's got that buzzing. Stephen?
I've got to tell you, Phil, a massive response to the public inquiry into the failings of the Mid Staffordshire NHS Foundation Trust. Faith Poole says, why is the hospital still open if it's that bad? Close it and sort out the problems, then reopen. Nick Thomas says, I've never had a problem at Stafford Hospital and would be more than happy to go there for anything. Carrie Lee says, I work for the NHS Trust and I'm sickened by the way this trust has been run. Of course, the results will come out at 12 o'clock and we will keep you updated. See you later.
Thanks very much, Stephen. In just a moment, Gemma Arterton and Terence Stamp on their new hit flick Song for Marion, described as Glee for OAPs.
It's better than that. First, it's over to Towie's Gemma Collins to tell you how you could sing your way to the bank with £36,000 in your back pocket.
OMG, you are not going to believe what I've just heard. This morning is giving away £36,000. That's massive. And you know what else is massive? Shut up. Shut up. Mr. Voiceover, give them the dates.
Oh, and that's right. This morning is giving away an incredible £36,000, which is the equivalent of having an extra £3,000 in your wages for an entire year.
Shut up.
Just think what you could buy with all that extra dough.
Shut up.
And so you can start spending straight away, we're going to make sure the entire amount is with you by the end of this month.
Shut up.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
No, you shut up so I can tell everyone how to enter. For your chance of winning, please answer this question correctly. According to the saying made famous by Marilyn Monroe, what are a girl's best friend? A. Diamonds, B. Slippers, C. Cats. Call 09041 61 99 99. Calls cost no more than £1.54 from BT landlines. Calls from other networks may be higher and from mobiles will be considerably more. Text A, B or C as your answer to 63335. Text costs £1.50 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter for free at the website. Entries made after lines close at 5 p.m. on Sunday, 10th of February will not be counted but may still be charged. The winner will be contacted on Friday the 15th of February. Good luck.
Come on.
Right, billed as Glee for the older generation.
So, like a gran-com.
If that's what you want to call it, yeah. Song for Marion is a brand new feel-good Brit flick with an all-star cast.
Yeah, it is a weepy, so you have been warned.
I have entered us into a choir competition. Oh, hello, Arthur.
What are you lot doing here?
We're going to be singing.
Better get some folks who can sing then, huh?
Have you got a name? The OAPs? Oh. With a Z, though, to make it straight. Give me your rock and roll. Good start. I'm going to do solo.
On your own?
That's what a solo is, isn't it? Did Grandad tell you he came to hear us singing?
I wouldn't call it singing.
Why don't you join in? Lay some beats.
Well, that is. Bloody crackers, you lot.
Marion! If there's anything I can do.
Haven't you done enough, you lot?
Well, two of its finest stars, Gemma Arterton and Terry Stamp, are with us now. I watched this last night, and it is a beautiful film. It's very honest and handled. We were talking about it. I sat down with my wife after I'd mopped the tears, and said that if in the States, if it had probably been made in America, the final denouement with them performing would have been slick and perfect. But it was a really honest performance of a group of people who got together for the love of music.
Yeah, I think, well, that's the charm of it. I mean, it's a choir of old people, and we weren't, I mean, when we were recording the songs, we weren't that good. I mean, it has to be said. We weren't that good, were we? I mean, you were, Terry.
Well, they made a big song and dance on Les Mis about, oh, we sung live, but we only had money to shoot live.
Yeah. So do you not have, like, weeks and weeks of song kind of rehearsals and singing lessons to make sure that you nail it on the final showdown?
We did have a little rehearsal time, especially with the choir, and you had been practising as well.
I only had time for 2 lessons with a voice teacher, but...
How much have you sung in the past, then?
Oh, I sing all the time.
Yeah.
I just haven't sung publicly.
Yes.
Like, sing in the shower.
Sing in the shower, yeah. Because you do have, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to be very careful what I say, but there is a very beautiful and poignant moment where you may or may not sing.
Right.
I suspect I'm going to have to say that you might do.
He's a discerning guy, isn't he? You can tell, can't you?
But you did, that really was terribly public, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure.
And did that make you nervous?
It made me nervous before I agreed to do the movie, you know.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I had turned down Camelot years ago, and it was something that I'd always regretted.
That was 1967, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I turned it down because I was frightened that I couldn't sing it.
Yeah.
And when this job came up, I was equally frightened. And then when I heard they'd got Vanessa to play the wife, and I thought, well, she played Guinevere.
Yes.
My character's called Arthur, and I got to sing. So I thought maybe the universe giving me a second bite.
It's all coming back into alignment.
Yeah. So I was confident in the
You mentioned Vanessa Redgrave, who her performance, and we would say that Marion is terminally ill and eventually passes away. You lose your wife, which is such a poignant scene. It's heartbreaking, but her performance is incredible. I think it's the best I've ever seen anyone portray a role like that.
No, I absolutely agree with you. But there's no like solid reason for it. Because I'm sort of romantic, I like to think that the story and the troupe and the combination of artists. I just seen it sort of brought out the best in everybody, really. And I think it was... So when I went on the set, the energy of the set, the collective energy, was more than the sum of the individuals, you know. And I felt so confident, really, with Jem and... No, really, and Vanessa, and the fact that, you know, a lot of people have said to me, well, you didn't, like, pretend that you were really nice, you know, you were just this old git.
He is a cantankerous old git, you're right.
but the thing is that I had the confidence to do that because you could feel her love for him.
Yes.
And I thought, well, that's enough, you know what I mean? I don't have to pretend to be nice.
But there's also the low budget movies that we make so beautifully here, and you say you love doing that sort of thing, and it is a low budget film.
Oh yeah.
What's the attraction? Did you do it for? Did you offer to do it for free?
Yeah, no, I read that. I was like,
we did it for free.
Well, we almost did. But certain films, this script was such a beautiful. It was a beautiful screenplay, and when they come along, you would do it for free. It's a pleasure, you know.
So I suppose if you balance that up against the big ones like Hansel and Gretel, which you've got coming out, big Hollywood blockbuster action film, compared to this, is it important to balance it as well?
Yeah, I think I shot this immediately after Hansel and Gretel. It was an antidote to that kind of big. They're different. I mean, Terence and I have both done those kind of movies, and it's a totally different experience. You're required to do the same thing, which is be as truthful as you can. But yeah, I mean, the great thing about low-budget movies is that you have to muck in and get involved, and often there's a time pressure, and you have to be more creative with your approach. And I think...
Well, you've got to muck in, haven't you?
You've got to muck in. And you have to invest.
I thought there's any room for airs and graces on something like that. You sort of muck in and get on with it.
Yeah, and you know everybody, and there's a real camaraderie on set. And I mean, I personally love that because I come from theatre, so it's much more, you know, feels more at home. Yeah.
Well, it's a lovely film, a really super film with some incredible performances and wonderful moments. We haven't even mentioned his relationship with his son, Christopher Eccleston, who's that's another brilliant performance and very poignant. Thank you both very much indeed for coming in today.
Thank you. And it's out on the 22nd of February, isn't it?
And a really lovely British film, not to be missed. And I was sobbing in front of the.
You softy.
I know. I cry at anything. I cry at commercials. Anyway, but that really got me last night.
We're going to an ad break in a minute.
I'll be in bits. We've the best romantic Valentine's getaways coming up after the break. Don't go away. Valentine's Day next week. What better way to get the romance rocking than a perfect weekend away for two? So we've a guide to some of the UK's hottest hotels. Holly, of course, is poorly today, so Jenny's here when you were going to be over there, weren't you?
Yes,
so
okay,
would you do that?
Okay,
lovely.
perfect.
And please, Jenny, take us through what you've got.
Oh, it's so nice to see you both. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Well, look, it is Valentine's Day. If you do want to kind of go somewhere and celebrate it, then you could start by going to the Cotswolds. So let's go to the Cotswold House Hotel, which is a luxury hotel and spa in the heart of Chipping Campden in Gloucestershire. It is one of the most beautiful hotels in the Cotswolds. Now, this price on the screen, £85, that's the best deal that they'll do at the moment. That's for room only, but you could splash out a little bit more. £399 will get you the Cotswold House Valentine's package, which is room, dinner, bed and breakfast with a 25-minute spa treatment thrown in. Very nice. So you get, it's a standard double room, and then you get your full English breakfast, 3-course dinner in the Cotswold Grill, and the treatments, there's a whole load of them. And you can book in for more as well if you want, but that one will be included, and you have to book in advance just to avoid any disappointment.
Well, you've got to be quick anyway.
Exactly. You have to be quick because the rooms will get booked up.
Well, it's next week.
It's not too far away. Yeah, it's next Thursday.
Yeah,
and a second night there will cost you £240 per night bed and breakfast. Okay, so there you go. Now, the next one we got to Scotland, go to Cameron House Hotel, which truly is beautiful. It's on the banks of Loch Lomond. It's gorgeous. I mean, literally is in a great location. The views are breathtaking. It doesn't even matter if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's sunny. It will always look gorgeous. Loads to do. A great family-friendly hotel. £110 per night. I say family-friendly. If you're going on a romantic Valentine's night, you might not want to take the kids, but the package I'm going to tell you about, stay longer for less, you can take the family. Okay, you save up to 24% on room rates, because the longer you stay, the better the deal is. That's basically how it works. So 3 nights B&B.
Stay there till August.
You could stay, oh my goodness, you pretty much stay for free, wouldn't you, by the end? No, well, maybe not. 3 nights B&B is 110 a night. 2 nights, 120 per night. 1 night B&B is 130 £100 per night. So you see, it does get better the longer you stay, and I recommend going there indeed.
Scotland to Cornwall.
Scotland down to Cornwall now, the Tregenna Castle. This is a luxury hotel in St Ives. A lot of people just go here for cream tea because the views are spectacular. It's won many awards for its views as well. So, I mean, St Ives is gorgeous as well. This £75 is the best deal for bed and breakfast, but they are offering a Valentine's dinner. A love is in the air with a romantic candlelit dinner and dance in relaxing surroundings. £65 per couple, that's with wine. £75 with sparkling wine, £85 with champagne. So choose your drink carefully, that's all. A beautiful place, lots to do. There's a great gym, the hotels, the rooms are lovely, and of course you get to go and explore St Ives, which is beautiful. Let's go to Darlington now, back up north to Rockcliffe Hall. This place is beautiful. It won Large Hotel of the Year award in 2012, and it's got Visit England awards for excellence. It's 5 stars, you know, it's got a golf and spa resort. It's an 18th century estate. It really is beautiful. No wonder so many people get married here. It's a romantic place, hence why it's good for Valentine's Day, you see. £150 per person is the best deal again, but the Valentine Gourmet Lovers Escape.
Oh.
Yeah. £285 per person, so it's a little bit more.
What do you get for that then?
Well, you get chocolates, you get a fresh bouquet of flowers, a chilled bottle of house champagne in the Tip Lady Lodge bedroom, which is a bedroom that's a little bit more remote. I don't know if they want to put you in a quiet area for a reason, but there you go. And you get a 7-course Valentine's tasting menu in the flagship 3AA Rosette restaurant.
You'd be too full to do anything else.
I know. I don't want to...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to go straight to sleep now.
You would be quite tired, especially if you're having the champagne as well with that. Yeah, you'd just be out cold. Full use of the spa and the wellness facilities from check-in till check-out, and an a la carte breakfast. There are other packages offered there as well, but you can have a look at them if you go to the website as well. A really great place to go. The Ebrington Arms. This is in the Cotswolds again. This is basically just a really great, like, pub-style inn with a really great feel. In fact, on the website, they've got pictures of all the locals up there. So when you go, if you just go on, check out the locals, when you get there, you'll know them all by name. You go, hi, hi. It's lovely. You know, it's a nice...
You don't get a prize if you spot anyone.
Oh, maybe.
You recognise them on the wall. Oh, he's over there.
They
the
should
vicar.
do that, shouldn't they? If you can't get in for Valentine's Day, because there are only a few rooms at this place, it is worth going here another time anyway. The Valentine's Day is a 4-poster room, dinner, bed and breakfast, and that includes a glass of Prosecco with your evening meal, and that is a little bit more than £180. That's a £200, but the £180 will get you a double room as opposed to 4-poster, and exactly the same, dinner, bed and breakfast, and Prosecco with your dinner. And the food is pretty nice as well. If you're into your food, if you're a foodie, you'll like the food they offer up here.
Then you've got Champneys, which is nationwide.
OK, Champneys is, you know, a great place. There are 4 health spas all across the country in the English counties of Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, Leicestershire and Hampshire. So I say all across the country, maybe more southern part of the country.
Biased,
So you can go there to, I don't know if it's very romantic, on a detox, you know, break with your other half, but there you could go there to detox, lose weight, and just basically have some really nice R&R time with your other half.
With your other half and a cracker.
There you go, that's it. And a tennis ball and a tennis racket and sit in a hot tub. Overnight stays start at £199. The Valentine's package is £125, but a general day is £75. And you'll get a glass of bubbly and a luxurious massage in a couples treatment room with 2 therapists if you pay an extra £90. So that's very nice indeed.
Well done.
Well done.
Jenny, thank you very much indeed for
Thank
doing
you
that
so
today.
much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's very good, that, isn't she? She's
Yes,
very good.
well, I think so, but you know, I'm
did
biased.
a very good job there. Marvellous. Right, coming up, Martin Clunes and Cian Egan's road trip continues to Mississippi. Martin Clunes isn't with Cian Egan. Those are 2 completely separate items that are coming up after the news. Welcome back. On the 30th of December last year, 20-year-old Naomi Oni was walking home from a night shift at work when her attacker, who she says was dressed from head to toe in a niqab, threw acid in her face.
Now, Naomi suffered horrific burns to her face, arm, leg and her hands. She was left partially blinded and lost her hair, eyebrows and eyelashes.
Well, terrifyingly, her attacker is still out there, and Naomi is with us now with this incredible story, and thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
So, as I said then, it's December the 30th, it's last year, and you've been at work at Westfield in Stratford, and you took the bus 5 minutes away from your home in Dagenham, East London. What do you remember of that evening?
I just remember being on my way home, getting something to eat before I got in, getting on the bus, and I remember getting off the bus and being on the phone to my boyfriend, and then having a funny feeling. I don't know, I just felt weird. And I looked behind me and I saw a person in I think a niqab is called. And I remember looking back and being shocked because I don't remember hearing footsteps or anybody like getting off the bus after me. And I remember just thinking, oh, okay, you know, let me just try and get home. Like, let me just, you know, ignore.
No words were spoken?
No, there was no dialogue. I remember when I looked back to see if someone was behind me, I remember the person just staring at me.
And what do you know of what can you remember of their eyes?
It was just cold stare.
Was there no one else around?
From what I remember, I don't remember anyone else around.
Because you were only 5 minutes from home.
Literally 5 minutes from my house.
And then something happened that's going to basically have changed your life forever.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So as I looked back, I just kind of ignored it and I thought, okay, whatever, let me try and get home. And I was waiting for the cars to go by, and as I just tapped my head, just hair, I just felt a splash. And that's when I was just like, okay, someone's out to kill me, basically. So I just said, I thought to myself, this person's not going to take my life. So I didn't even bother to look back to see who or to even be like, why would you do that? I just started running.
Did you know
straight
it was acid?
home. I knew it was acid.
Did you?
Yeah.
How did it feel when it was?
It just feels like it's something eating away at your skin. I think I mostly felt it on my scalp. I felt my scalp burning more than my face.
Well, I think the police inquiries, they believe it to be sulfuric acid that was thrown at you.
Okay.
I think. But when you raced home, got home as fast as you possibly could, running on adrenaline, I assume.
Yeah.
And you were on the phone to your boyfriend, so you could say phone 999.
I don't know, I had bags in I had shopping bag, I just bought a robe from my workplace, I had my bag, I had my phone. I don't know how I carried everything, ran so fast. I got home quickly, banging on the door, shouting, acid, acid.
And then your mum answered the door.
Then everyone kind of thought, like my family, my godmother and my uncle came round, and I think they kind of thought I was excited that they were in. So everyone's thinking, calm down, like what's going on? And then my mum opens the door and everyone's face just drops. That's when, within that second, my life just changed. Yeah.
Presence of mind from one member of the family who, you know, started to douse you with water and wash it off as fast as they possibly could. The police arrived within 3 or 4 minutes. The ambulance was very soon after that.
It felt like it was forever.
I bet it did.
Yeah.
I bet it did. But I think the response was
so
fairly
quickly.
smart. They rushed you to hospital. What injuries have you sustained?
Just burns to my left thigh and my right hand. My scalp is burnt. I've got like a bald patch in the middle where it's burnt, and they've had to put skin graft over that.
When you were in hospital, how long did it take you to realise the true extent of your injuries?
When I first saw my face and when I started going blind, I was blind for like about 2 days. I couldn't see at all.
You must have been so worried that was a permanent...
I thought that was the end. I thought I would never be able to see again. When my vision started getting blurry, I forgot that acid had gone into my eyes. I just kind of remembered, like, oh yeah, my eyesight, forget about my face, my eyes. What if I would never be able to see again, see my family, see my boyfriend, see my friends? When I first saw my face, the little vision I had left, I was really shocked.
What I can't believe is that you just discharged a week and a half ago. I mean, you've had such an ordeal. How many operations had you had?
I had 2 within 4 weeks.
You said that when you realised the extent of the damage on your face, if it hadn't been for the love of your family and your boyfriend, you don't think you'd have been able to have got through
I
it?
wouldn't have been able to do it. I would not have thought it could get any better. If I saw my face and I was shocked. I was really, really, really shocked, and I was angry that someone had done that to me. I couldn't understand why someone would want to make me like that.
And you were asking that, weren't you? Why?
Yeah,
why would
me?
they do that?
I was like, I work so hard. I was just shouting different things, like, I work so hard. I'm a good person. I was like, am I a bad person? Is that why that someone would do that to me? I started to question many things.
You say you don't argue with people?
I don't like arguments.
You don't like confrontation?
I don't like Anyone that knows me knows I don't like confrontation. I like to keep myself. Being an only child as well, I like to just be in my own little corner and just keep myself to myself.
One of the reasons you said that actually you don't feel any hate towards them now, you're just so happy that you're here.
Happy, like, I feel like I'm a blessed person to be alive.
What sort of a woman were you before this happened?
I was girly. Took 3 hours to get ready.